Hello, Graveyard Talkers. Welcome to another episode of Graveyard Talking. Well, I guess you could say I'm your host, Randy. So, I really wanted to talk to you about proof and the fact that as of last week, one of the videos that I performed, so probably really last night when I edited the video, I went through the video. I am a firm believer. Now, I believe in proof. We get out there and we ask questions while we're out there. We might not say, Mary, are you here? We might say, Mary, are you here? And Mary says, yes. Um, or we might say, how are you all resting here? And we get peaceful. But what happens when your responses are absolute, spot on? There can't be no mistaking that the answer is correct. Let's go back and take um, a couple episodes back where I did the video on the young man who was 22 years old killed at Gettysburg. Well, we knew by his headstone that he was 22 years old. We knew his name was Walter, even though somebody yelled out and said Walt, and really pinpointed as to where he was. We went there and we really found out that he thought that his mother was sad after his death. Poor thing, I believe it was. He said something of that nature. And then when I asked him directly how he met his faith at Culp Hill, he said, shot in the leg. Now, there's a phenomenon out there that you can hear a word, and I can hear a word that's electronically produced, and it comes out to do different words. I'll be honest with you, my wife, who believes in this totally, can listen to the video, and we watch every video after it's uploaded and online. She can listen to a video, but she says continuously, I can't hear what you're saying. I just can't hear what you said is being said. So if you're having that issue, one, it could be that change. I don't know if it's a Doppler effect or what it is, using your left side of your brain compared to your right side of your brain to hear with. I don't know. Put on headsets, put on earbuds. I pick up so much more when I put on earbuds. I'm still trying to work out the audio so that it doesn't seem like I'm talking over so much, because a lot of times it seems like when I talk, a lot of the good information is coming out as well. I try to leave a little bit of space in between my questions to hear the responses, just in case somebody is having a little bit of a difficult time getting through. But a lot of times I find that when I ask a question, again, I'm walking over someone who is talking right then and there. So how do I know that when that young man said that he was shot, the lieutenant said that he was shot in the leg, how do I know that is true? I don't. I'm not going to lie to you. Everything that I hear on this channel, everything that I hear the Spirit say to me, I truly believe I heard being said. So we go back to, how do I know that the lieutenant was actually shot in the leg? I don't. I researched it. I could find nothing on him other than his commanding officer talking about him and how brave he was, and the fact that he was basically buried in a cemetery. So I'm going to assume it was a mass grave. But I don't know. I couldn't find any hard proof. If we go back to another episode where I'm talking to Bill, Bill is talking to me. He's not real happy about talking to me. But when I ask him how many kids you have, he says 3. Okay, I don't know if that's the correct answer or not. So I go back and I look at his obituary. I find his obituary online. I go back and I look at it, and guess what? Bill has 3 kids. Now, if you want proof, I would say that's about 80% proof. Let's face it, it could have been just a coincidence that popped up as 3. I might think I heard 3. You might think you heard 8. You might think that you heard flee. But what happens when you go to a cemetery and you do some spirit boxing, and there's a person that you know in that cemetery and that you were good friends with, and you reach out to him and you ask him questions that where the answers have to be sharp as a nail's head and be pinpoint for me to say, you know what? It's real. Now, you're not going to get me out here being like some of the spirit box channels out there with this big bubbly personality. That's just not me. But what I can tell you is me is I will always be honest with you. If what I hear, I will tell you what I hear. If I believe it's BS, I'll tell you it's BS. Yeah, you know, some of the thumbnails, they might be a little sensationalized, but that's to get you to look at them. But I'm going to tell you on this one, the answers that my friend gave me were answers that could not have been randomized. It couldn't have been. For instance, I give you the first question I asked him. I says, we had a running joke. What was that running joke? Well, I don't know if he understood what I was talking about, because I used to make fun of him, harass him a little bit on the fact that he liked wrestling. He loved to watch wrestling. My son, who's also a big wrestling fan, was home at the time and had he was in the military, had his wrestling championship wrestling belt that he had bought at one of the meets, wrestling matches. And I brought that out to him, to his car, because he would always stand outside my house. He would never come in. I brought that out to him and put it on and let him wear it. And it was signed by, I don't know, 4, 5, 6, 7 wrestlers at the time, I believe. And he was grinning from ear to ear. So this was something that he just didn't like, he loved. But yet, he never responded in any way of it. So I asked him a very poignant question. What a hobby? Basically, what hobby did we have? How did we meet? I asked him, how did we meet? And what was our hobby? So basically, we had a hobby. What did we do in that hobby? And what did we collect? The answers were just something that couldn't fall out of the sky and land perfectly. The answer was specific and precise. Now, were they the exact answers that I would have looked for? No, but they were the exact answers that lets me believe that I really was communicating with him. And at the end, you will hear my dog start howling. Unfortunately, there was somebody walking their dog inside, and my puppy seen the dog the first time she's seen another dog other than my service dog in a year that she could think she could get to, and she went kind of wild. So I had to cut the session short at that point. But I want you to listen to what he says, and I'm going to come back afterwards and I'm going to explain what he says. All right, enjoy the video. Please watch it all the way through the end. Give it a thumbs up, give it a thumbs down. Please comment. I can't make the channel any better unless you comment and give me suggestions of what you would like me to do, or questions to ask. You have questions you want to ask, let me know. I plan on doing a bag of questions. Basically, I'm going to be taking around all the questions everybody asks me, or questions that I have, or questions the wife might want me to ask. And I'm going to take them with me. I'm going to reach in, I'm going to pull it out. Sometimes it's very difficult to get a good conversation going, but you can help that conversation by suggesting questions to me. All right, I'm going to be back after the video, and I'm going to let you know what he actually said. Enjoy. last stop today. We are here at Huron Valley Cemetery in Flat Rock. And we're going to see if any of the spirits here while we drive around would like to talk to us. So if there's any spirits here, my name's Randy. Leanne is with me, and we are here to talk to you, hear your story, hear your life. If you have something to say, you can use these boxes that we're using here. They will not hurt you. They will not harm you. They're just a way for you to communicate with us. So the oldest person here was buried in 1811, and the newest person here is just recent. So if anyone has anything to say, I'm going to turn on the speaker, and you can talk to us through the speaker box. Right. So we're going to drive around, and if you would like us to stop, just yell stop, and we'll stop and talk to you from your view. We're here by Marcia Hutchla, Mike, by the Crooks family, Tanner, George Mullins, and Christy Keys. Well, Christy's still alive. Christine is still alive. George passed away in 2007. Kind of. Now, in this cemetery is a friend of mine. His name is Hugh Clark, and his wife Gladys. I never knew Gladys, but I did know Hugh for many years. Hugh, are you here? So if Hugh Clark is here, I'll drive over there by where Hugh is buried. But if Hugh is in here, if Hugh is listening, you're waiting? Yes? Would you like me to get closer to your grave? Can you talk to me from this distance, or do you need me closer to your grave? So Hugh and I had a running joke, and yeah, and do you want to tell me what that joke was? What would I always harass you about? And what was your hobby, Hugh? Could you tell me what your hobby was? All right, Hugh, how did we meet? Hugh? Why don't you tell me how we met? Mission. I don't know. We were on a. I guess we could say we were on a mission. What mission was that? What did we collect, you? All right, everybody. What did you think? Now it's just the last part of the video where I'm talking to Hugh. Let me tell you what he said. The first word that he said was mission. And I said, well, maybe, yeah, I don't know, maybe. Well, our mission that he's talking about was I used to travel all over the country. Now, well, let me take a step back. Me and Hugh are amateur radio operators. We talked almost every day. Now, there was no cell phones for the most part in his day. There were, but they were very expensive, and he never had one. He was in Michigan most of the year, but he'd go down to Kentucky several times of the year. But we'd always talk back and forth. Well, how do you say we do that? Well, we done it on amateur radio. We would go what we call off frequency, and we would talk back and forth. But while I was here and I was home, there was a time when I didn't work for a very long time. I would go, even when I was driving, but when I wasn't, I would go to an amateur radio's home, another amateur radio operator's home, who needed help with their antennas. And I would rebuild their antennas for them, string them out for them, set them up for them, tune them up for them, whatever somebody who couldn't do it. Maybe it was a guy that was 80, 90 years old, and I was in my 40s. I would go and I would do that to help them out because that's what amateur radio is about, helping people out. So Hugh would go with me on several occasions to Indiana, where I would go up and I would work on a amateur radio operator's antenna. He was in his 40s at the time. Not Hugh, the amateur radio operator was in his 40s at the time, and he was paralyzed. And his hobby was amateur radio. So maybe that's what he meant when he said mission. And then right after mission, he says antenna, because antenna is the second biggest thing in amateur radio. But it also pinpoints what my mission was. There was a time when that was my mission. My mission was going around helping people with their antennas so they could get out on the air. Now, after that, I said to him, you tell me what we collected. And you're going to hear two responses in there: counties, and then I think he said just counties. The words come up on the screen. So, but it's basically about county hunting. When amateur radio operators are not working emergencies, that's their main goal, is to work emergencies. Back in the day when there weren't cell phones, you were lucky during an emergency if you were able to call out. If you were on the road, you had a radio and you were, say, stuck in a ditch because of a snowstorm, blizzard. You would call up on the radio, and the guy at home would be able to get a hold of emergency services to get them out there. So when you weren't doing emergency services, then you were playing on the radio. And one thing we played was collecting all counties. And that meant somebody was driving in the car or they lived in a particular county, and they would go on the radio, and we would have what we call a net, and just basically a group of people there, and we'd have a net operator, somebody who controlled it. And that person in a particular county would then put out his county, and you would call in with your call sign, and that person would recognize you, and you give your signal strength. And then after you got all that done, you would send a card. I would send a card, let's say to Hugh when he was in Kentucky. I would send a card to Hugh in Kentucky. Hugh would sign that card saying, yes, I talked to you in that county. And then I'd get the card back, and when I did, I put it in a book. I put it in a list, and I would get an award that was awarded through CQ, which was the amateur radio magazine, which is the amateur radio magazine. There's a few of them out there, but that was the premier one of the day. And I'd get this big certificate. I'll take a quick picture of it here and put it in here. So I could have said, Hugh, what was our hobby? And if it was a random answer, it would have said horse riding, maybe, or cars, or baseball. But no, it picked something that only less than 1% of the world population has it as a hobby. And not only did he pick a mission antenna, but he picked a specific name of he picked the specific name of what we did. We collected counties. And I think his last words are just counties. That's all he did. That is all he did. He collected counties. So for me, if I needed proof that what I do is absolutely positively real, this is it. This is my proof for me that when I'm talking to a spirit, that I am really talking to a spirit. You are going to have to decide whether or not, one, I'm telling you the truth, and I swear, as my father used to say on a stack of Bibles, that I am telling you the truth. That I heard Hugh. Of course, it wasn't his voice, but I heard Hugh. His answers were spot on, right on target. There was no mistaking what he said, and that his answers were absolute and made absolute positive sense to me because they were so right on. Again, he just didn't say radio. He said hunting counties, just counties. So if there's one thing you can take away from this, is when I say that this is what I heard, I'm being absolutely honest with you. This is what I heard. This is what was said to me. Thank you again for watching all my videos. I certainly do appreciate it. It keeps me busy. I am retired and it keeps me busy. With that, I'll see you on the next one.